With a week left until the election, Scott Morrison's visited Victoria 7 times during the campaign. 4 of those were to the eastern suburbs of Melbourne and a couple to the Surf Coast. While he was here, he met with business owners, played a bit of pool and hung out at a lolly factory. Anthony Albanese was in ISO with COVID for about a week of the campaign, but he made it here 3 times, heading to the Surf Coast twice and also popping by the eastern suburbs. He hung out with chefs and nurses and chucked on a fluoro vest and hard hat and headed to a train station. We contacted the Coalition to ask what their big promises are for Victoria this election. They pointed us to this big list. While there were many policies for Australia, the only promises specifically for Victoria included building a new freight hub in Melbourne's north as part of a plan to get more trucks off the road, and also promising billions to any government that wants to build the East-West link, the Melbourne road the state government dumped 7 years ago. When we asked Labor what they're offering Victorians, they had a similar general list. But Anthony Albanese has promised a couple of things, including billions to help build the suburban rail loop, which will eventually connect Cheltenham to Werribee via the airport, but not for another 13 years. Labor's also promised to open new urgent care clinics where Medicare will cover the costs in Geelong, Ballarat, Melton and Shepparton. But here's where the parties stand on some of the top issues for Victorians. On a National Integrity Commission, both parties say they'd set one up. The Coalition promised one at the last election, but it was never introduced into Parliament. Labor says it'll have one by Christmas if it's elected. It also wants one with public hearings for politicians. The Coalition says pollies would be grilled in private. On climate change, both parties have set a target of net zero emissions by 2050. But while the Coalition will cut emissions by around 27% by 2030, Labor plans to reduce them by nearly double that. On housing, the Coalition will let people pull up to 50 grand from their super for a house deposit. Labor will help people buy a house by splitting the bill, chipping in up to 40%, which can then be bought back from the government over time. While both parties will allow people to buy a house with just a 5% deposit without paying mortgage insurance. On the cost of living, the government's already put a few things in place, like temporarily cutting the price of petrol and handing out $250 to vulnerable Australians, while Labor's promising to slash power bills by nearly $300 over the next 3 years. Both parties will make medicines like asthma puffers and the pill cheaper. On education, the Coalition's promised to create 800,000 new TAFE places over the next 5 years. It'll also provide up to $5,000 for apprentices in high demand. Labor's promised to create 20,000 new university spots to focus on careers where there aren't enough people to fill jobs. It'll also cover the cost of TAFE for nearly 500,000 people over the next 4 years. Hopefully that's helped you make a more informed choice this election. Don't forget to vote.